You found yourself on another episode of Locked On Bulls. In today's episode, me and Pat will be talking about the Bulls season-ending pressers. Are the Bulls better than their record? And then lastly, who do we think is going to come back? Who do we think is going to go? We're going to get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. That's Pat, the designer, host and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Hayes, host and creator of Chicago Bulls and Chicago Bears Central. Pat, the Bulls had their season-ending presser. It was AK, Billy Donovan, Zach DeMar, Kobe, and Vooch. I guess they said, everybody else, you ain't got nothing to say. We don't want you to talk. So don't even worry about it. Don't show up.
Did you really want to hear from DJJ? Is that the guy?
You know what,
Andre
honestly,
Drummond?
Yes.
Andre Drummond, that's the guy you were looking for?
A little bit. I guess they said, hey, Pat, we don't even need you to talk this time, bro. We don't need you to talk. Io, you just focus on shooting. We don't need you to talk either, bro. Just go shoot. But with that said, Pat, how'd you feel about it?
Well, Io's season ended about 4 weeks ago. You know what I mean?
His season ended about 4 weeks into the season. But, you know,
basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The husk of Io DeSumo still was out there, bro. But, you know.
The husk.
The husk.
Is this offseason content we just frying all the Chicago Bulls for the terrible season?
Man, let's start off with AK and Billy Donovan, man. How'd you feel about their part of the presser? And you can really talk about any part, any presser, but, you know, kind of just starting there at the top.
I thought we heard what I expected to hear from AK and Billy Donovan. I don't know what people were looking for. I saw a lot of people like, you know, this was a terrible press conference for AK and he didn't sell us anything and we still don't know what the plan is. I'm going to be honest with you. You're not privy to the plan. You're not supposed to know what the plan is. You are a fan, just like we're fans, even though we podcast on this mug, right? Like, so the AK is not going to give you the plan. The one thing we love about NBA and NFL GMs, they treat these secrets like if they give these secrets up, all nations will go to war. So you knew nothing was going to happen, right? Like World War IV will start. You skip 3 straight into 4. It'll start up if AK lets you know what's the plan with the Chicago Bulls.
They said what we thought they'd say. That's all I can say with that.
That's really what it is, man. And to me, like, I'll say this. Part of me likes the fact that I don't have a GM that panics. Part of me likes the fact that I don't have a GM that looks at a season that of a team that he has put together in 2 years, that in 1 year, right, you can say at the end of that year, we were optimistic. In 1 year, we could say at the end of that year, we're very pessimistic coming out of it, even though the second half was nice. And I'm glad that I don't have a GM that says, yep, we're just going to get rid of everybody. This isn't working. We're going to move on from everything. Do I agree that it didn't work? Yeah, I do. I think that continuity needs a lot of tweaks that happen. But I think when you look at a lot of the stuff in the second half, very much like AK pointed to, I thought one of the interesting parts was the fact that we lost 16 out of 33 games on last minute, last second, or overtime. That's a lot of games, especially heading into a season with a team that I believe was top 3 in clutch baskets made the season prior. The Chicago Bulls flipped the script. So when I listened to the post-game pressers, I literally listened to a GM that was as flabbergasted as we all were that his entire team just flipped the script. I mean, literally, when you come into this season, you're talking about a team that was one of the worst defensively at times last season, now being a top defensive team that lost to every bad team last season, or lost to every good team last season, now beating every good team this season at least once, and then a team that was able to dominate all the bad teams, losing almost every night out. I think AK legitimately was as confused as we were, which is probably a problem in the long run, but I felt like AK talked a lot of the things that me and you had talked about coming out of this season. We knew what this team was. We knew he wasn't going to invest heavily in what this team had shown. And like he said, there weren't a lot of deals on the table for the Bulls to make to improve. And AK is not in the business of blowing this thing up.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing coming out because, a lot of Bulls fans have been asking, hoping, wishing, dreaming, even though me and you sit here on this platform for all of about 10 months and told them we're not blowing it up. It's not happening. Going full rebuild was not going to happen. Now, you can agree, you can disagree, but at some point you just got to come to the realization it ain't happening. And that's just is what it is. I don't say that to toot our own horn or anything, but the writing was on the wall with that. We're not going full rebuild. Now, while the way that AK presented it and talked about it, I could understand it being triggering. It was triggering for me initially. It still is kind of in a way, but at the end of the day, it's like you said, he's not gonna sit here and come on this season-ending press conference 2 days after the season and say, yeah, by the way, we're trading Alex Caruso. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna start shopping next. It's just not gonna happen that way. I do like that he was pressed a little bit by Casey Johnson. Shout out to Casey Johnson for always keeping it real. Because AK had talked and made it seem as if like he's going to try to bring everybody back. And Casey Johnson pointed out how that was unrealistic and basically asked him, you do realize that you work for who you work for, right? That you work for the Reinsdorfs, right? Yes, we have work. We have tons of work to do. And, the season is a press conferences are, it's a bunch of fluff. If we're just being honest with it, bro, it's not anything.
Something to make us feel better or feel worse.
Exactly. It just is to evaluate what it is. We're supposed to leave with the same feeling we came in with, and they got work to do, and we'll see if they're going to actually do that work in a meaningful way. I will say that I like DeMar saying that everyone under 24 is mandatory to do those that all-season training with him because that's something that needed to be done last season. And so we know that Kobe eventually came out there too. It was Pat, Kobe, and then Dalen came for the 5-on-5s, but I don't think he ever actually did those workouts with DeMar. But Kobe, P. Will, DeMar, Io, everybody who's going to be back on this team that's under 20. I said DeMar, Dalen. Everybody who's going to be under 24 definitely needs to be out there, if not for nothing else, to learn that work ethic, to learn what it takes to come in and to really, do the work in the offseason to be prepared for the season. Now, one thing DeMar did say, I want your thoughts on this specifically, was, saying that he's going to work on his game and he will take more threes next season. Now, we saw a period of time that he was taking more threes and actually hitting them pretty decently for about a 6-game stretch and went back to normal. It's to be expected. But do you think a DeMar that comes in with the goal of shooting more threes, how do you think that that's going to affect the Bulls offense if he does end up staying here?
I think, right, like you have to understand the timing of them. You have to Giannis it. That's what I want DeMar to do. You have to take enough threes that people feel like there's a threat of you to take threes, but not enough that it actually hurts the team. The answer for this team for the three-point line is not DeMar DeRozan. We know that. That's okay. You know what I mean? And AK's got some work to do. He's got some things he's got to go after. But you do have to have that threat. The thing with DeMar at the second half, I won't even just say the second half, a little bit before All-Star break leading into the second half of the season, is that before that, there was no threat of DeMar taking a three-point shot. I wasn't worried about DeMar taking a three-point shot unless it was a game-winning situation where the Bulls were down 3. You know what I mean? Like, or the Bulls were down 2, and then they were trying to win the game, whatever it was. But I'm not a fan of DeMar. Now, I will say this: if it's I'm trying to improve at the 3-ball to lengthen my career, there's a lot of players that's worked for. That's probably going to come at some point in DeMar DeRozan's career, just because it's easier to shoot from outside than inside. And I think that DeMar could be a bigger long-term asset for the Chicago Bulls in that way. I gave you guys the numbers kind of the second half of the season. DeMar wasn't taking a ton of shots, right? There were 5 games where DeMar took 20 or more shots in the second half of the season. So that backseat role to me, or finding a role on this team, to me is DeMar DeRozan's way of looking for how he's going to be successful long-term, hopefully with the Chicago Bulls, but maybe with another team out there, right? Because there's not a lot of teams that are looking for that mid-range assassin to be the focal point of the offense. I think a lot of teams like the leadership that DeMar brings. I think the 3-ball is going to be a necessity in adding to his game moving forward. But to me, right, like I look at DeMar's game and I just think it's about which shots you take, not about what length they're at. To me, you have to give some kind of impact offensively, but you also don't want to take away from the team and you're going 6 for 15 or 6 for 18 and the ones you're missing are 5 3-pointers. You know what I mean?
That's a great point. That's a great point. I mean, listen, this Bulls team got work to do internally. The players, the coaches, everybody got some work that needs to be done this offseason. And, the seasoning impressors for me, it kind of was just to close the chapter on this season. Let's go ahead and lock it in. Let's move on to next season and see what it's going to be. One of the questions that we're going to ask up next, though, is are the Bulls better than what their record ended up being at the end of the season? So we're going to talk about the next. Before we do that, talk to you guys about one of our sponsors, and that's Prize Picks. How does Prize Picks work? You pick 2 to 6 players, and if they will go on to score more or less than their Prize Pick projections, you can win 25 times your entry on your money on any entry. No competing against other people. It's just you versus the projections available. Prize Picks offers projections on any sport that you watch. This includes NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, PGA, college football, men's college basketball, women's college basketball, soccer, WNBA, and esports, and more. Entries can be made in 60 seconds or less. It's just that easy. Safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. Shout out to the Mapleheads over there. Download the PrizePicks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you 50. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for instant deposit match up to $100. All right, Pat. So, are the Bulls better than what they finished at this season? Finished the season at 40-42, with 14-9 over the last stretch of the season after the All-Star break, I believe. Ups and downs all throughout the season. When you look at this team, do you feel that they're better than what the record was to end the season?
I feel like the Bulls are better than what their record was, but they are what their record indicates them to be, right? And that goes organizationally. I think the record of a team, of course, it ends on the players on the court, right? It ends with how many basketball games your players win on the court. But I think when I look at the record, there's so much blame that I have looking at the organization and what they put out there. How AK talked in his pregame presser was as somebody who expected Lonzo to be back this season and was leaning on that heavily. That's a mistake. There's no way I would have come into this season with us pushing Lonzo Ball's timeline off of playing further and further and further and said, I'm not going to address anything with the point guard position. There's no way, right? So when I look at this season and I look at the second half of this season, I see how much the Bulls changed. Bulls go from 26th in scoring to 16th. Bulls go from they were a pretty good defensive team all year, right? But finishing as I will say this: AK said they were the top defensive team. The spots I've looked at says that they were second. It was within 0.3, wherever you put them, a top 2 defensive team. Zach LaVine taking his time to get himself back, feeling like him. I think that plays into it. DeMar kind of finally finding that role, and all of that happening in the second half of the season when you added a point guard that I think pretty much everyone here believes, while we love Patrick Beverley, he's not top 15 in the NBA. He's probably not top 20. I think you could argue that maybe he's worse than some backups in the league.
I hate to admit that, but you're not wrong.
And it's no disrespect to Pat Bev. It's just, right, the age playing into what he currently is in the NBA right now. He's a leader. He's a vocal leader. He is energy. He's a vet. But there's better talent out there right now at the point guard position. So to me, the fact that I can see that small tweak turned your team into a okay NBA team, right? Like, it's not like the Bulls came out and all of a sudden they were world beaters. I look at the organization and I say, you didn't offer this team enough on the floor. We're sitting here in the second part of this season, in the second season in a row, saying, what are our needs coming into next season? Shooters and size.
Same thing.
So to me, right, like, do I think the Chicago Bulls, do I think Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan Nikola Vucevic are a better team if they're allowed to be just ball players on the court and put in the right position to succeed? Yes. I think they're a better basketball team than a 40-42 team. But the Chicago Bulls organization gave us a 40-42 team. And to me, I think this offseason, I'm looking a lot of, okay, listen, AK, you had your one offseason of fire. This offseason, you gave us kind of the warm embers that were left over from that fire. You gonna put some oxygen on that? You gonna reignite this fire? Or we just letting the coals cool off all the way?
No, I think and forget just we're gonna put some oxygen on it. Pour some gasoline on that mug. That's what we need this offseason.
Well, I don't think that we need that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I look at this and we'll talk about this a long offseason. We'll talk about this a lot. But I don't think that we need the Jalen Brunson to New York. I don't think we need that.
To do what though? What are you talking about? Because if you're talking about just to get back to where we were, cool. We don't need all that. But if you're talking about to try to be a contender for an ECF, no, we need a lot. It's not just like 2 or 3 pieces make us relevant again. 3 or 4 pieces, the right pieces and the right things that come together, not stars or anything, but the right pieces come together and kind of transform the team to get back to an ECF. I'm kind of sitting there, that's what we need.
But here's the thing, right? It depends on what you're talking about. Because to me, when I look at what this team was, Kobe White is what we needed. We didn't get that Kobe White all season, though.
This is true, but
the Kobe White to finish the season is what we needed. He wasn't here.
But that's the thing. You can't. To me, I get what you're saying with that, and with Zach too, because Zach didn't start the season 100%.
Zach didn't start the season, and then when he came back, we were like, "Hey, you're the point."
But you know the issue with
like,
that
Wait a minute,
that's once again betting on everything going right, and everything's not going to go right.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
To me though, I think that's why I'm saying, like, to me, the AK, Mark Eversley, they have to do a better job. Now the players got to play, right? Like, there's been many times this season where we've looked at Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan or Vooch or whoever it is. Everybody's gotten the ire of our anger this season, and it's been, hey, listen, do a little more. Like, do you know you play basketball? Like, I'm not saying it's not on the players. Y'all know I'm very big on the players are the ones that put things together, but you also got to put players in positions. Case in point, if you watch last night's game of the Clippers and the Suns, y'all think Russell Westbrook just remembered how to play basketball in the last 30 games? Like, all of a sudden he just remember, oh my God, are you saying I'm supposed to pass the ball to the dude to shoot? No, he's got dudes that can shoot around him. That helps the game. He's not kicking the ball to LeBron, who's kicking the ball back to him because they both want to pass it. Like, I think that roster means a lot, and I think that AK just did such a poor job of that, especially right. Like, me and you talked about this coming into the season. We're not GMs. We knew Zach LaVine was going to start out the gate slow. We hoped for Kobe White. Kobe showed us a little bit and then fell off, but like, we were coming in with hope on Kobe White. We knew nothing about Dalen Terry. What the heck? We had high hopes.
Don't know much about Dalen Terry.
No clue. Yeah. Does he even play for the team? Realistically, him and Marco are phantoms, right? Like, Ayo Dosunmu was our biggest hope coming into the season. He let us down. I told y'all coming in, he might have a sophomore slump. I mean, like, there were a bunch of things to me that you needed to build contingency plans. Remember when we talked about him being Batman and having a contingency for the contingency, right? Like, he just had one plan.
Yeah, you're right. We talked about him having the extra files. No, it turned out it was one plan. And once that one plan went left.
I don't know if you were a SpongeBob watcher at all, bro, but like, it's like when he was the waiter on SpongeBob, and they told him, all I want you to remember, Squidward told him, all I want you to remember is fine dining and cleanless. And they said, what is your name, sir? He's like, we threw out his name, like, in his brain, like there was nothing in there, bro. They threw out all the files. He had no name no more. That's what AK was this season.
That is hilarious. Yeah. Man, let's hope it's better, bro. Let's hope it's better, man.
That's the goal, man. I don't know. Do something, okay? Hey, man, hopefully we build this thing up just like Built Bar's out here building up bodies, man. If you're looking for a delicious, I'm struggling right now. Let me run that back. That's what AK's done to me, man. He's broken me down. If you're looking for a delicious snack but don't want all the sugar and calories, I've been telling y'all for years, bro. Oh, well, actually, years now. Actually, yes, years. You need the best protein bar you're ever going to get with the best taste. Get in tune with Built Bar, man. They come with 100% real chocolate on every single bar. I'm talking about churro flavor, peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream covered in 100% real dark chocolate. I'm not sure how Built does it, but they make it taste good, and they pack in only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. That's right. And the best part about it, now you can get it in stores. For years, we've been telling you guys, go over to built.com. You can pick your best flavors. Promo code Locked On still works. And you can take that away with the order. But now you absolutely can go to Built. You can actually go get your Built from your local Walmart or Sam's Club with specialty flavors, the cookies and cream, double chocolate, coconut puff. You can get a 4-box of that at the pharmacy section in Walmart, or you can go to Sam's Club, run in and grab a 13-bar box of the brownie batter puff and the Cheerio puff. I'm telling y'all now, get in tune with Sam's Club, Walmart, all of that. Grab your Built. You can thank me later.
All right, Pat. We got a long offseason ahead of us, bro.
Ooh.
Long offseason. One of the biggest questions heading into the offseason is Nikola Vucevic. But on top of that, Kobe White, who talked about in his presser, wanting to start again. But Kobe White, Javonte Green, Patrick Beverly, Andre Drummond, if he opts out, we got a lot of free agents coming out. Ayo Dosunmu. I'm going to ask you this, right now, and I know as this will evolve as the offseason goes on, as we start getting more ideas, but one of the things that did happen with the new CBA is that you're able to start re-signing your own free agents the day, I think it's 2 days after the finals in, is how the rule goes.
I thought it was right. I thought it was the day after.
It's the day after, okay.
It's close.
Maybe it's
much closer.
Yeah.
It's like 3 weeks closer.
It's considerable. So right now, with how you feel about things, season in pressers or not, but where you sit right now, who do you think's coming back?
I think you're in a situation where you have to bring Vooch back. Now, Vooch has talked about testing the market. Vooch may not want to come back. He says he wants to be in Chicago. Of course, that's going to affect based on the money, right, that he's going to be able to get. But to me, right, this is how I think. If you're going to move on from somebody, you can't get worse at that position.
Mm-hmm.
Who we get? It's not, and this is the thing. It's not like Vooch is a bad player.
Yeah. Even though some Bulls fans will have you believe all their woes are on him. But,
well, listen, is he a subpar paint defender at this point? Sure. I'm willing to concede. Yes. And even though the numbers will say he's not, right? I'm willing to concede that Nikola Vucevic doesn't do enough on the paint defense that I would like him to. Fine.
No, the problem is he is defending the paint, as in the actual paint on the court, not the players that are in the paint. That's part of this.
Just the paint, right? Just the paint.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I also understand what the modern center looks like. I also understand that, listen, Joel Embiid doesn't always protect the paint either. I get that Nikola Jokic, more times than not, doesn't protect the paint. I get that and this is the question that I've asked a lot of Bulls fans. Who are you going to get? I know that you guys want this 90s style center.
It's not going to work on this
That's
team.
going to shot block and sit down there and rebound and push the back. Joakim Noah ain't walking through that door. Joakim Noah barely works in this NBA, but he does work.
Even Joakim Noah was a extremely good passer, and he ended up developing that out to 12 feet, and sometimes the elbow he'd make that weird looking jumper. But Bulls fans, some will talk about we just need somebody who can just block shots and rebound. Okay, but there's other aspects of the game, and I tell you what, you can find a lot of better defensive centers in the league than Nikola Vucevic. Yes. I will never argue that. But you cannot find bigs that can pass. And keep in mind, too,
Vooch ain't a bad passer.
He's not a bad passer. So it's so strange, man.
It's just, I think, to your point, I mean, realistically, when you look at what Vooch brings on the court, is there anybody that you even think that's available? right? Because realistically, if the Bulls don't want to do anything with DeMar, they don't have to. DeMar's signed. Zach LaVine's here. Vooch is the biggest question mark for us heading into the offseason outside of a lot of our bench mob. Contrary to whatever, what's the clown on Twitter? I'm going to call him out by name too. Diehard Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, the idiot.
Who,
you notice how he disappeared?
No, I muted him.
He disappeared. So he. No, I'm sorry. We'll talk about that off air.
No, listen. He outed himself live, right? Like I don't. We talk about it all there. Stop believing everything y'all see tweeted out here and retweeting that mess.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of idiots that do this.
That's just very true, and he is one of the biggest idiots that does.
One of the biggest. What somebody said, I think it was Matt said, "Hey, is this Sammy? Oh boy,
it gotta
for
be,
middle of the
him.
season." I said, it's gotta be him.
It's Sammy's son. Like, yeah, that's why it's like, come on, man. Like, you really thought you could leave, do a rebrand, and come back? That's what you thought was gonna happen?
Hey, and Joakim's following him. I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, Joe don't know? Like, what's happening here?
Joe probably just hit follow and kept it. But Joe, we know Joe be in an altered state 90% of his life.
I can't diehard Chicago Bulls got to do it. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But he was just lying. Like, nobody's reporting this. And he's just like, yeah, DeMar wants $150 million.
You know what it is? He saw the tweet that Daniel Greenberg made saying that that's the most that DeMar could command in free agency and decided to make that tweet based on. It's like an idiot, bro. Just stupid.
Hey, man. Hey, stupid is as stupid does, sir. But I'm going to ask you this, right? With what Vooch can bring, is there a better center that we can get? Even if we break the Jerry Reinsdorf stigma and we go after somebody, is there a better center that we can get this year?
And I'm still not saying better. Keep in mind, I'm not saying better. But the only center that I can see on the free agent market that can replace Vooch and bring enough offensively while being an improvement defensively is Jacopoto on the open market this year. That's the only one. Because I think Jacopoto is a good enough passer, not as good of a passer as Vooch. He's a good enough passer and a solid enough scorer, especially in pick and roll, but he's much better on the ball defense. He's a much better pick and roll defender. He's a much better rim protector. So he's the only one, at least right now in my mind, that I can see that can bring enough of both sides to it that I would be okay if the Bulls let Vooch walk and brought in Jacopoto for less, because he's going to get much less than Vooch is too. I can talk myself into that.
I would almost say I don't even know if he's going to be available. That second half of it, right? Like we look at what the second half of that the Bulls did. The second half of the Raptors season, they were very optimistic and feeling good about what that team did since Jacopoto had got there. So to me, right, like he might not be leaving Toronto. Now, maybe he got out of Toronto the first time and he was like, dang it, y'all brought every time I get out, y'all bring me back in. Right? Like maybe it was that situation, but like I'm gonna be honest with you. Here's the one thing we do know. The obvious option don't always get selected.
It's true.
So outside of that, you're getting even if not better, right? Even if it's a flat line. Okay, I can deal with a flat line. Everything else is worse.
Yeah. And when it comes to Jacopoto, the only reason why I think there's even a possibility is with the way the CBA has changed how long you can be over the salary cap. Unless Toronto moves on and Fred VanVleet gives them opts out of his player option, they may be up to that apron to where it could be extremely hurtful to them to re-sign Jacopoto. So we'll see.
I don't know, man. Is there anybody else on the team that you think might be moving on that you thought was the staple or you think might be back? I'll ask you this because we both been on this guy.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing with Ayo? Ayo is a free agent.
He was a restricted free agent this year, and so I look at and I know it's a season-ending presser. You just got done saying that you can't take too much away from it,
right?
But how glowingly AK talked about everyone else, and then with Ayo, he literally said, "Well, we hope that he works on his game on the summer, and we do want to see him stay a Bull for a long." Like it just seemed like it was a little bit more loaded there. So not that I say that he's necessarily a casualty for sure. But I do think that if the Bulls don't move and break it, like here's the thing I'll say. Kobe needs to come back 100%. But I think that there is a world in which Caruso or Ayo aren't back just to make space to do something else with the roster.
It's going to be a weird offseason, bro. I'm not going to lie to you because I think there are going to be a lot of major moves made here. Major's tough, right? I think we'll sign at least one big name. Whether it be Vooch or, to me, Jakob Poeltl still a big name piece to add in. And I think we're going to move on from a lot of pieces that we thought were going to be here at the end of last season.
Oh, I agree. Listen, I've gone back and forth on this so much this season where I thought, maybe, somebody would come back or whatever, but I just look at it and saying, like, if they truly want to improve this team in a meaningful way, something got to give, bro.
Who are your must keeps? I
think Kobe because of the youth, and I think that we don't want to see another young player go away and develop even further somewhere else. To me, Vooch is a must keep just because you can't replace Vooch.
Right.
1 for 1. And then
DJJ.
Who?
DJJ.
DJJ's got another year. Well, a player option for another year. So
he got a player option. He got back in.
Yeah. So I don't know if DJJ feels confidently enough about what he can get on the open market because there was no interest around DJ. It was none around DJJ. So I think DJJ is going to opt back in. Javonte, I think, is a goner just because I love Javonte. Javonte is a piece. He's a luxury, not a need. If we had a better roster, absolutely bring him back. But we need more size out there. And to me, honestly, I think it was evident towards the back end of that season. DJJ can bring most of what Javonte Green does.
Pat Bev?
If we improve point guard, no. If we are kicking the can down the road and doing the whole Kobe, we're going to try Kobe at starting point guard, then yes, Pat Bev is going to be back. I'll put it at, if I had to put a percentage, I'll say 45% chance Pat Bev comes back.
I feel like that's a major voice to lose. That's the part that scares me.
Yeah, I feel you. I agree.
The fact that somebody came in and was just like, hey, DeMar, let Zach shoot some. Like in the first practice. And he was just like, oh, okay, all right, cool. I mean, like, that's not to say you have to have him back talent-wise, but like the voice in the room doesn't have to be a best talent. I don't know, man. I think to me, you're not talking about a lot of guys. Zach, DeMar, Vooch, right? Like, again, I know everybody's finna, but so you just running back the core? The core with changes around it is not a bad core. The core with shooting around it, right? The Chicago Bulls, 2 years in a row. And I'm going to be honest with you. The biggest problem, and I know we're going long on this, but the biggest problem is percentage problem, right? The percentage is a problem. The Chicago Bulls 3-point percentage is a problem. They're a bad 3-point shooting team. The attempts is worse because the guy that makes you get open attempts has been extended.
Yeah.
Billy Donovan's not going anywhere.
Man, this is about to be a long offseason, brother.
Hopefully we got a Knicks turnaround. I can't believe I just said that.
I hate having to admit the Knicks are good, bro. There's literally nothing I hate worse in my life.
Hey, bro, they came out running that mug on that first game, bro.
I can't admit. I can't. I hate admitting the Knicks are good, bro. It sucks. But go ahead and send us home, brother. Let's get up out of here, man.
Follow us on everything at Locked On Bulls. You can follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. The Knicks still suck in our books.
Absolutely. You can follow me at CEO Hayes, the CEO, Haize. And thank you for making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. And every day is tomorrow. We'll be back, continue to break down everything going on with this team, having some more, kind of analysis or predictions, some things that we have going on in our mind that we want to see with the team. So just because it's the offseason doesn't mean you have to turn us off. Stay subscribed. Continue to be locked on with us at Locked On Bulls. And that's it, man. For Pat the Designer, I'm Hayes. This has been Locked On Bulls, and we out, y'all.
At least we don't got to watch them no more.
It's a fact.